Now let's look at tips for the true-false tests. Like I said before, always trust your first choice. If your gut is telling you to pick one, trust it, and do not talk yourself out of answers too often. Avoid looking for patterns. No matter how badly we want our professors to spell something out with the Scantron sheet, they aren't doing it. Do not look for patterns in the test. Make sure each question stands alone, and don't let other answers influence other questions. Pay attention to qualifying terms like always, never, every time, and so on. Make sure the answer is true to what it states. For example, if the question is grass always green? No, it's not always green. Sometimes it's brown. Pay attention to words like these. Finally, follow this common rule. If there is an exception, the answer is false. Even if the exception only happens once in a trillion chances, there is still an exception, so the answer is false. Now let's look at some tips for essay tests. The best way to study for an essay test is to anticipate possible questions. If you know what material is to be covered on an exam, try to make up essay questions to quiz yourself while studying. Usually, your teacher will tell you specific topics you will have to write about, and most often, they will give you a list of essay questions and tell you that some of them will be on the test. To prepare yourself, make an outline of the answers to each essay question. By preparing outlines, you will already know what you want to discuss in your essay before you even begin your exam. And after you have completed your essay, proofread your sentences. This is very important. As a college student, your professors expect you to be able to communicate through writing. So make sure your words are spelled right and your sentences make sense. Do not make small errors like misspellings or punctuation. Here are some more test-taking strategies and tips. Read the directions twice. Make sure you know what is expected of you for each section of your test. Look over the test before answering any questions. It is important to see what a test is like before you start taking it, so you don't come up on any surprises that may freak you out during your exam. Look for hidden answers. Oftentimes, one question may state the answer for another, so pay attention to these connections. Try to block out any distractions like coughing or tapping. Try to focus only on your test. If you need to close your ears to focus on a question, then do it. If you have a question during a test, ask it. Do not be intimidated or embarrassed. If an asked question gets you a correct answer on an exam, it was worth it. If you come across a difficult question, put a star next to it and move on. Do not spend too much time on a question that is you stuck, because you will be wasting time when you could be answering questions you know. Come back to tough questions later. Finally, if you have time left after you finish, review all of your answers before you turn in your test. Make sure you have not left out any questions without answers. Another typical thought of students is they only need to start studying once the test date gets closer. Here's a survival tip. Start now. Set up regular study hours so you are learning the information throughout the semester and aren't forcing yourself to memorize it last minute. There is a reason classes last for a semester. There is too much information to cover in just a few days. So why do you think you can learn it all in a few nights of cramming? If you study daily, you will have a better chance of passing your tests and achieving a high GPA. On the next few slides, we are going to do a short activity which emphasizes different study habits. I will give you a list of words, and you are to remember as many as you can. You will write down as many words as you can remember. Then I will show you the same words in a different format. The point of the activity is to find out which format makes it easier to remember the information provided. Let's begin. Take a look at the words you see on the screen. In the next few moments, remember as many of the words as you can. You have 30 seconds. Go. "30 seconds is up. Let's move on and see what you can remember. Now you have a minute to write down as many words as you can remember. Go. Okay, a minute is up. There were 16 words total. Was it easy for you to remember all of the words? Or did you find it difficult to remember so much information in such a short time? On the next slide, you will see the same words, but in a different format. Let's take a look. Here are the same words, but put into similar categories. You may have noticed earlier that some of the words had something in common with each other, but you were too much of a hurry to organize them into easily remembered categories. This activity demonstrates what it is like when students cram the night before a quiz or test. When students cram, they try to force a large amount of information into their memory in a short period of time. The information is typically unorganized, so it becomes confused, and there is not enough time to truly retain all of the information. This slide shows organized information. If you were to memorize these words in a short period of time, it would be much easier to remember than when the information was jumbled. However, if you had a week to memorize organized information, your studying would be much more effective than cramming. On the next few slides, I will introduce you to the 7-day study plan. This offers a plan for you to organize your notes and then study them effectively in order to prepare for a quiz or test. You may want to take notes on this information, so have your pencil and paper ready. Here is the 7-day study plan. You should practice this plan before each exam throughout your semesters. Before every test, you should begin studying 7 days before the exam. And on each of these days, you should plan to study for at least 2 hours a day. On the next few slides, I will show you what to study each day. You will probably want to take notes, so make sure you have a pen and paper ready. Remember, you can pause the podcast at any point if I'm moving too quickly.